It was just a cancellation and no explanation as to why.
Parents were simply presented with the fact that the program will not be run here, so the process was just, the decision just went over everyone's head.
Well, it was a decision that didn't sit well with parents last year when the city swiftly booted a toddler summer camp program from Lindell Parkette right here in Scarborough because a few neighbors complained. Well, we told you about that story last year. That coverage led the Ombudsman's office to conduct an investigation into how city staff handled that issue. The report released today says staff acted unfairly and they're calling for some sweeping changes.
We complained because we felt we weren't being heard.
1 year later, Henrik Anderson's concerns are front and center in the Ombudsman's report that criticizes city staff for how they granted, then canceled a permit for Sportball to use Lindale Parkette for their summer programming.
Let's go give it to your mom.
He spoke to CityNews last summer about how his son Liam and his friends were kicked out and moved after a few noise complaints from residents nearby.
The city took the complaints and they acted on those complaints without consulting all the parties involved, and that's where we felt it was unfair.
Tell me what was unfair about that process.
There was no investigation, and there was no opportunity given to the company and the customers to understand the problems, to address the problems if possible, and to see whether there was any remedy short of pulling the permit that could have alleviated the problem.
In fact, Parks, Forestry and Recreation doesn't have a policy that deals with complaints about parks or a clear process for handling park permit violations. The report also found that the city granted the original permit without enough details about what time the park would be used and how many kids would attend the camp, all information that could have prevented the issues in the first place.
We started this investigation because of this incident, but it quickly became not so much about the incident, but rather about the processes that exist.
The Ombudsman's office is making 8 recommendations, including establishing rules for staff when they are considering whether to cancel or alter a park permit, interviewing all affected parties, and training staff on policies and processes. Parks, Forestry and Recreation tells CityNews it processes over 300,000 permits annually. The division has agreed to implement all the recommendations. A statement reads, "In managing this intense demand for our parks and public spaces, we strive to balance customer service with policy and process, but we know we need to do better."
I hope the city follows the recommendations set by the Ombudsman, and that moving forward, others won't have to relive our experience.
Now, we did reach out to Sportball earlier this morning. They have not returned our calls. Now, the office of the local councillor, Gary Crawford, who last year agreed with the city's decision to revoke the permit, tells us he was not available for any interviews today. Now, Parks, Forestry and Recreation tells us the division also launched a review of their how to improve their permitting system. The results are expected to be released before the end of the year. And this story came to us from a CityNews viewer. If you have an issue you'd like us to look into, here are all the ways you can get in touch with us.